taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Augmented Reality podcast for September 26th, 2020, the Saturday edition of the show. Welcome everybody who is active in the live chat already. It's great to see you all. Welcome everybody who's listening and not active in the live chat. You're welcome here as well. Please do slam that like button. It likes it rough, and it tells us and YouTube that you appreciate this content. Lots to talk about as far as the gaming industry right now, and some other news about upcoming games as well, or at least discussion. There will be a little bit of speculation today, as far as the Starfield topic. I hate to say speculation. Obviously, we don't know anything for sure about what's going on there, but Cyberpunk has been digging into the Starfield situation, and we'll be talking about that a bit. And so, he's got some analysis he's going to bring for us. A little bit of Cyberpunk news, plus we're just going to talk about sort of the general state of the industry right now. There's been a lot of things happening, and on our Wednesday show was, of course, a little bit was tight on time as it typically is, and so we've got a little more time today to dive deeper into those topics. So welcome today. My name is Ash. I'm here as always with Cyberpunk and Moontag, and we're going to get started. So how are you two doing this fine morning?
Good. This fall weather change means layers, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
Enough of the heat.
I was driving through a nearby river valley, and it was all yellow, the leaves, and I'm like, where's the red?
Mm-hmm.
I need more color here. Yellow just kind of looks dead, but when the leaves start turning nice red color, it's like just gorgeous. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, so let me see. Is there anything else I need to mention before we dive into the news topics here? No, but of course, as always, give us your questions and comments in the live chat. We will address as many as we can throughout the course of the podcast. Of course, super chats basically guaranteed to be read live as long as they conform to basic standards of human decency. Nothing that'll get us banned off the platform, basically. So, all right, there you go, Cyberpunk. How's it going?
It's going. I had some house problems yesterday, but it's going. It's slightly annoying, but hopefully it'll get better. But yeah, the news has been interesting to mull over the past few days here. Started looking up some stuff, started talking with some people, started seeing where everybody's thoughts is and what everybody's thinking and what everybody's feeling and just, where is, everybody at? Where is this mind of what's going on? And where is everybody sitting right now? And I think I've got some interesting things to talk about today, especially in regards to Starfield, especially Starfield, and how Starfield could be out a lot sooner than we think, and how it might not be out sooner than we think. So there's two kind of prevailing thoughts, and this was really summed up incredibly well in the latest in a news article, which I won't directly name because I'm going to be doing some insulting both ways, and I don't necessarily want to call them out, and I don't want to necessarily start anything because
You're more courteous than me. I was ready to rip into it. But anyway, go ahead.
So there's two prevailing thoughts right now. One prevailing thought is that, oh, look, this merger means that we're going to probably see Starfield sooner than later. And another thought of like, how dare you think that, you stupid piece of garbage? Don't you know what you're doing? Oh my God, you're so stupid. Oh, I'm not even going to address your arguments because you're just so stupid. Don't you know how to use Google? So that was the one kind of like train of thought, which is kind of funny because, and this kind of really denotes where we actually have the state of discourse and the state of logic and the state of finding things and digging into things. Nobody knows the release date of Starfield. Nobody knows it. Well, I mean, aside from like a bunch of people at Bethesda. Nobody knows their first preferred release date, their second date, their backup date, their backup date. Nobody knows any of this stuff. And to suggest that you or somebody else does know this perfectly well, and you're completely ready to show exactly what's going on and nobody else does, well, you're kind of an idiot. I mean, just in general. So for starters, let's look at some obvious things. Does Microsoft have a launch title, a major launch title that's been really built for next gen technology? And the answer to that is no.
No, they were
not.
supposed to have one. It was supposed to be Halo Infinite, obviously. That's been delayed.
So was Sony involved in talks to have Starfield become one of their exclusives? And by the sounds of it, an exclusive that was coming out sometime within the next 12 months.
Well, yes. We know that Sony was, prior to Bethesda being purchased by Microsoft, Sony was trying to lock down Starfield as an exclusive for the PlayStation 5.
Now, some of this stuff can be done months, if not, a year or more ahead of time. But we've seen that this is really not the case recently, because we've had this happen before on several other titles, and I've been right on this stuff numerous times before. And it's not because I'm a genius, it's because, well, I just read stuff and I listen to what people are saying, and I listen to what the industry people are saying. And this is, for the most part, something that is still up in the air as far as this goes. We don't know, how when approaching to do, a release date, a release lockdown, an exclusive. We don't know when these talks start. Typically, it's all over the place right now. Sometimes, and as we've seen with Epic, some of this stuff is weeks away from release. And so is this the same scenario? Well, we don't really know for sure. We know that Microsoft is really hurting for a big console exclusive release. We know that they're really looking for a big next gen game that they can put out as quickly as possible. So the arguments against this is that I was going to do some voices. So I'm going to try and do some voices. So there was a report that came out from a analyst, and you know how much I love my fellow analysts in the industry. And it went a little bit something like this. Oh, good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful tea and crumpets. And, did you know, by jolly, I have to say that Zenimax is about to launch the Microsoft Starfield game, and it's going to be a console exclusive, and it's going to be launching right away. Oh, look at this! Isn't this beautiful? Have a good day. Jolly good, jolly good. Oh yes, and Microsoft will also be announcing releases for Wolfenstein, Doom, Quake, Prey, Dishonored, and a bunch of other things to compete with a bunch of exclusives that PS5 is launching with. Oh, look at that! Isn't that beautiful? All right. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, there's a journalist who's like, "Oh my god, I'm so irrelevant because of the way that news and information is changing. I work for a big platform that really doesn't know how to do anything, and oh my god, you're so stupid. How dare you even come up with the consideration that this might actually be something that, is going to be out right away. Oh my god, this is so, I'm so disgusted with you." And this is the prevailing two arguments. So, number one argument. We've kind of covered a little bit why would they want to launch this early? Why would they want to put this out with their release is because they don't really have a big title and they really need one. So what's preventing them from doing this? Well, first of all, let's look at how much time Bethesda has been developing Starfield. We know that they started developing the story, the story, the overall gameplay loop, the concept, and we know that they started developing this ages ago. from what we can tell, they started working on this like 10 years ago. So the story is probably has been completed for quite some time. And so you wouldn't need to really probably do very much work on that. There's a good chance that a lot of the audio has already been done. Bethesda has, I mean, they don't have a wide variety, but they do have definitely good skill in the audio department. But they can most certainly like work off of that, going forward. And probably, some of the voice work might have already been done, again, 5-6 years ago. That's entirely possible, with how and the way that they work on some of their stuff. So it's entirely possible. We don't know for sure, but um, it's possible. So what about how they announce games? Well, Bethesda has put a cap on that they will only announce game, or the smallest amount of time that they'll launch a game from its announce date is like 5 months. That's what we've heard. This, of course, is kind of, it's something that that Todd really doesn't like. He would prefer to announce a game and then have the game come out within as little time as possible between that and that. So we're looking at this and we're thinking, well, all right, so who's calling the shots now? Well, up until a few, days ago, it was Zenimax calling the shots. But would Microsoft change that and go with more something that Todd wants to do? And the answer to that is, well, Todd was on one side of this recent game release. I don't know if you guys all heard about it. It was called Fallout 76. And Todd was like, this is totally not ready, and we are announcing this way too soon, and it needs to go back in for a long bake, and we've got to move it over to another studio because we're busy doing something else, and we can't work on this very much. We can solve like the Atlas problem and give you guys, all of our assets for this, but we really, really can't work on this very much. This has got to go over to somebody else, and it definitely can't be released right away. That was his thoughts on it. And not officially. This is rumor. I have to emphasize that.
I was going to ask, because, someone's going to push back and say, how do you know that?
This has been a rumor for quite a while in the industry, and I think we're going to end up seeing this. I don't think we're ever going to get a 100% solid outline of like, this is what happened here and that's what happened there. I think for the most part, they won't ever really do that. They would prefer, like Todd, I think, prefers to show rather than tell. So he's going to show that they're, that they've improved and that they've changed and that they're altered considerably. So I think his net apology for 76 will come in the form of a really great next game and keeping a high level of quality in the next several games that they're going to offer. This is what I sincerely think is going to happen, because again, we've covered you can't actually apologize the way that some people want to see apologies, but this has been a rumor for quite a while. It's really seems to fit everything that's been going on, and it's been from like more than one source saying that this is what's been going on, and so who's calling the shots right now? Well, before, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, it was a bunch of people at Zenimax and a bunch of big investors in the financial side of Zenimax who call up Todd and tell him what to do. Essentially, they give him a fair bit of freedom, but they also keep him away from doing certain things that he likes to do or that he wants to do, and they tell him, no, flat out, you're not allowed to do this, period. So he's not God Howard in the way that some people think he is. He's not, or he wasn't at the studio, even Bethesda studio, the Maryland studio, which is the only studio that he runs. He is brought in to advise other studios, but he does not call the shots at any of those other studios. He does not call the shots on any of the other major projects that they have going on at other studios. He is at most or at best a somebody who's brought in to consult from time to time on stuff and to give a little bit of help and direction. But he does not decide gameplay mechanics or story or anything like that at Prey or Wolfenstein or any of that stuff, because it's just not his studio. That's not his job. And you don't want too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, and you don't want people to, make up, start coming in and making up new rules on top of rules that your current, head of the studio at a different studio is doing. You don't want to come in and have somebody just run in and run roughshod over them. That's just really, really rude. And nobody does that. And any company that does do that is, well, I mean, they're going to land themselves into the side of a wall very, 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 very quickly. So that's kind of the preset of what's been going on. So now let's talk about, like, if he's in control, what would he prefer to do in this case? And I'm pretty sure he would prefer to release the game with as little announcement as he can, putting out some big piece of information, hit the ground running with a huge amount of advertisements and showcases, start getting people in to, like, look at it and give their opinion, and then launch the game. That's what he prefers to do. So now that he is far more important in the grand scheme of things now, because when Microsoft announced the deal, and they had a little they've been having a bunch of these, like, or not a bunch, they had this, like, meeting where they talked online with a guy, and it was the head of Xbox, Pete, and Todd, and then the host. And that's the new face of the Microsoft Bethesda side of things. So that's the new people who are essentially running the show now. It's not these other people from Zenimax. They've essentially cashed out, and rumor has it that they're leaving. That their job was not purchased along with it. They received an enormous amount of money, probably became billionaires, and then that's it. They're good. They've checked out. They're also really old, and they've actually not ever really made a game. So yeah. So why would you even want to keep them around? Mm-hmm. Like, why would you want to keep them engaged?
Well, and on the flip side of that, Phil Spencer seems to have, that's the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, mm-hmm. Seems to have a direct relationship with Todd Howard and others at Bethesda. Like, when Bethesda's developing games, they've been working directly with Xbox and Microsoft, as opposed mm-hmm. to, not working with them through ZeniMax per se, because, like you said, those aren't the game developers. That's the business side of things. So it would seem that, if, like, Todd Howard and others at Bethesda would have Phil Spencer's ear, to put it kind of simply. Seems to me that's a more direct relationship, rather than, even if the people at ZeniMax were sticking around, mm-hmm. the folks at Xbox might very well say, okay, we hear you, corporate people, what you think we should do, but the people actually on the ground developing the games, who we've been working with for decades now, they think we should do it this way, and therefore we agree, because we actually know stuff about video games, and so that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Seems to me that could very well be the case.
Yeah. So now let's look at... so I think we can take that argument off the table. We can also take off the table what this one reporter commented on is, don't you know how to do Google? And so, if you Google it, you get a bunch of, oh yes, it's been reported that they're launching in 2021. It's been reported. It's not confirmed. There's been no official announcement. It's just been reported by a bunch of other people. So it's like you're self-reporting an argument to make your case. Now, I realize that this is now common journalism to say, hey, Jim, can you write an article proving my point? And then I'll reference your article that proves my point in the point that I'm making in my article. And you have this circular, cyclical, arrogant journalism that has absolutely no evidence put forward, and we see this go on all the time.
Or the infamous a source connected with something. Okay, yeah. To be fair, though, Pete Hines did say as little as 4 weeks ago that it's going to be a while before they're ready to show Starfield.
Yeah, and he's lied before. So again,
True.
not necessarily something that we can take as 100%. So we're trying to like argue both sides here and make sure that everybody is under the understanding that we're not necessarily picking a side. This morning last night I came across some data. I spent the morning talking with a couple other YouTubers and some other people who are in the know of certain things, and said, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What's your thoughts on this? And then see where we go. The prevailing idea from most everybody is that it is inbound in 2021. And I said the other day that I think 2021 will be a Bethesda year because of all of the projects that they're going to announce. But would they not have already done the announcement for Starfield if it was coming out? Like, wouldn't it be a great time to like announce Starfield and the purchase of Microsoft, buying out Bethesda at the same time, and just kind of have everything all happen at once? Don't you think that would be better, so to speak? And the answer to that is, well, there's a good chance that it probably is what's going on, but also, how long has the game been in development? And that's the other question that we need to kind of focus on. So how long has the game actually been in development? How long have we actually been, watching this stuff go on and paying attention to this stuff? And where are we currently sitting as far as like the overall goal of the game? And so the last of the Fallout 4 DLC came out in 2016. Pretty mid 2016 as well. So because of the way that we know that some of this stuff operates and so how their development goals work on this, most everybody was done at the studio working on this stuff in early 2016. So they have been working on this for well over 4 years as a whole company, including a massive number of people that they've hired and the whole of the studio. And again, somebody might say, but they were working on 76. Again, Maryland Studio did not work on more than a handful of systems for 76. The majority of 76 was built out of studio, as far as we can tell. All current development on the game is out of Maryland Studio. There's next to nobody working on anything 76 related at the Maryland Studio, and there hasn't been for several years. That's just the way it is. And there's some people that are offering some help, and there's some people that were reportedly like moved studios and hop studios to be team leaders and stuff like that. But again, none of that has been like announced or confirmed or anything like that. So it's like, that's about it. So yeah, so that's the basic sum up of like more or less essentially both sides. Is the game has been in development for a really, 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 really long time, and the whole like concept behind it has been worked on for ages and ages and ages before. For Starfield, it's been in development for a very long time on paper, and probably a lot of like the extra stuff, the writing, a bunch of additional stuff has been done probably for ages already, and they've been working on this for a very long time. So is it going to come out? No, not necessarily, but it certainly would be a very, very handy thing to have in a release. And if it was at any way possible, I really got to say that if it was at all possible, then they can 100%, they would 100% do it, because they need a launch title. And if this is the case, I think we would see an announcement probably somewhere in October. Not necessarily something in September, and they kind of want to let this sit and stew. They probably want to like bring in a bunch of Microsoft's marketing team, and they want to hit the ground running with this. If that's the case, then I would say for sure.
Interesting.
If we don't hear about it in the first 3 weeks of October, though, it's probably not coming. It's definitely not happening, though.
Very
And
interesting.
I want to make that clear. So, is it happening? We don't know. Can we say definitively one way or the other? No, because the only person who can say that definitively are probably like 3 people, and that's probably the head of Xbox and Pete, Todd and Pete, basically. That's the only people who can say anything definitively on this right now. But the arrogance of both an analyst saying a bunch of stuff that doesn't really make a lot of sense, and then a reporter creating essentially a clickbait hate piece to get people to click and share. Neither one of those people are good for sources or information in a generalized sense. There's a lot of problems with both of those aspects. So right now, what we'll say that it's an interesting theory, it's an interesting idea, it has merit both ways, and we don't really know what has been going on, but the concept that no, they wouldn't do it because Bethesda never will announce a game less than 5 months out before it's shipped. That's not something that factors in anymore, because they're not a small company now. They're not a small, multi-million-dollar company, or maybe even a small billion-dollar company. They're now part of a trillion-dollar company. And if Microsoft says, hey, let's do something and do it in less than a month, it's going to happen, because they have the resources, they have the technology, they have the pull, they have everything that they need for that. So that whole concept of like, oh yeah, they're never going to announce a game and then put it out with less than 5 months, that whole concept is out the window right now. So we got a super chat.
Yes, I'm going to jump in with the super chat here. Moontag is having audio issues, unfortunately, so you won't hear her lovely voice today, sadly. But she is with us, and I think she's reading she's in the chat, and she's talking with folks in the chat today. Super chat from Polly's911. I personally have little trust in Bethesda after Todd's 16 times the detail lies. Microsoft said that Bethesda will be left to their own devices, but after 76 fiasco, this does not sound like a good thing. All right, your thoughts on that, Cyb. And now, like we have referenced before, how I think you talked about this earlier today too, about the decisions made by Zenimax versus the decisions made by Bethesda. But anyway, what are your thoughts on this?
So again, I'm not defending what lies Todd had to say. I'm also not condoning those lies either. But if your boss suddenly came in and said, hey, I need you to lie about this, and you say, that's ridiculous, I'm not going to lie about this, and he's going to say, well, you better lie about this or you're going to be finding a new job. And you're like, okay, so here's my options. I can quit, and I will have to deal with quitting and not having a job anymore, and probably being my boss is the type of person who's probably going to try and blacklist me and then blame all of the problems that he wants me to lie about right now on me right now. That's one choice. The other choice is that I can go ahead and say, all right, I'm going to lie about this, but I need you to you're going to email this to me and tell me that you're doing this on an internal, level that, should anything happen from this, the board will look at this and kind of have an opinion about our two different opinions here. And you can say that knowing that when you do go out and lie, that yes, your reputation might be trashed, but the studio itself will probably survive, because the board will look at what you did versus what the boss told you to do, and they'll say, wow, this guy's an idiot. Like, this guy's a real idiot. Running this studio into the ground like this, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, my God, like, grow up. And no, you're not going to be in control, and you're not going to tell this guy what to do anymore. So that's your second option, is you can play it and you can kind of counterplay it. What's the decision there? I don't know what the best decision is, because we have yet to see what happens from that. We also have yet to see what what ultimately comes from those choices that have been made. Is this something that's going to change, the Bethesda studio, all of the Bethesda studios for the better now? Would it have been better to leave the studio, let it crash and burn, and try and start your own studio? Mike Morhaime has just done that with a ton of Blizzard employees. There was a round of Blizzard employees quitting, from what I heard recently, that basically said, "Yep, we're out. We're going to join Mike Morhaime's company because Activision has ruined Blizzard to an extreme, and a lot of them don't think that it is no longer capable of recovery, which is not very good at all." The employees signed this big thing saying that they are losing their mentors, that they're, that once veteran wings or departments or teams in the studio have now gone from being veteran skilled, having veterans and skilled people running the show, to having a bunch of people who've been there for less than 2 years. And that's the entire department or team is made up of that. And very little of them know exactly what's going on. And very few of them know the years of experience that they don't have those years and years of experience. So that's kind of where they're at, where it's like, well, we're kind of screwed. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be very interesting, because we're now looking at this going, basically that company, there's a good chance that Blizzard's done, and that we'll see a very sad, slow death over the next 3 years. It might start with the launch of Shadowlands here. We're hoping not, but we'll see. So is what of those choices would you make? And now I know some people would say, hey, I'm totally willing to, leave on that and storm out the door and tell people that and risk my job, my income for my family, risk the income for the family for my team members, all my friends. You got to remember that the Bethesda studio, this is an incredibly tiny studio with a lot of people. The average employee has been there for 8 years. That's the average employee. There's probably a dozen or 2 dozen people that have been at that studio for 10, 15 years plus, who have been raising kids and family together, and probably probably go to the same, social groups or community things or events. They probably live near each other. It's either that or they hate each other and they quit. But in all honesty, if they've been working there for 16 years, they're probably quite good friends.
Right.
They probably know each other. They probably see each other in the hallway every other day. It's still a small enough studio that you can know pretty much everybody there. Do you just walk out on all of those people and just say, screw you guys, I'm quitting, you guys are going to have this huge mess to deal with? I encourage you all to quit as well. I know you all got mortgage payments and whatever, but you'll walk away from that. What is the right answer? Because I don't think it's as easy as some people think it is. Some people think that it's a super easy, oh yeah, now I'm just going to slam my foot down. Or do you turn it around on them? Sure, these guys got a big paycheck and they're walking away, but they're not in control anymore. So what would you rather have? Would you rather have the control over a company, or would you rather have, wash your hands of the company? Which of those two things do you think you want?
Right.
And so that's the tricky thing. So did Todd lie? Yes. Is there reason to believe that he was told to lie? There's reasonable evidence for that. Is it possible that he just exaggerated because that's what he's been prone to do over the past few years? That is also very likely. So we don't really know. And again, I don't think Todd will ever come out. I don't think anybody will ever come out and lay it all down. Maybe in a memoir, 15, 20 years from now. But I suspect strongly that they're going to show, not tell. They're going to show that they're making good games and that they're creating good products. They're not going to say that, oh, this is what happened, and really, Joe Blow is to blame, and he was just, he was a power mad crazy person. And I think it really is going to boil down to them saying, you know what, let me show you this game that we're working on, and then you can tell whether or not we're a piece of garbage company anymore. So that's I think that's where we're at. So
I'm looking forward to seeing actually what comes of this, and I really hope that Bethesda does take the opportunity to kind of hit the reset button on their words failing me. Reputation is the word I was looking for. And like I said in the previous podcast, I really hope they take that opportunity, and that they are given the opportunity.
I also need to re-emphasize that 76 is still not a great game. I really need to. Somebody was saying, "Oh, so you think 76 is a great game?" No, I still think it's an okay game. Now, in its current status, it's an okay game. It is not a good. It is not a great game. It is an okay game. It is a game that if you are really into Fallout and you really love the universe and you really love the art and style, I would recommend that you pick it up, but don't pay. Don't pay for all the extras. Don't buy $50, $500, $1,000 worth of their in-game purchases. Don't do that. I mean, don't do that normally. Just stay away from that as much as you possibly can. But is it a horrendous, terrible game right now? No. Was it at launch? Yes. Is it right now? No. I'm not recommending. Stop putting words in my mouth, Nev. I am not recommending
he didn't say for Fallout lore.
For the
he
lore.
said for
I'm
the
recommending
atmosphere.
76 for the thematic styling. The lore is a mess. The lore is really, really, really a mess. They're trying to save it. I don't know if they can, but thematically, it looks and feels like a pretty decent.
It's a multiplayer Fallout
experience.
4, basically, if you are into that.
It is not in any way, shape, or form a good Fallout game. It is certainly doesn't belong in the long list of excellent Fallout games that have been out there. Every Fallout game that has been released, with the exception of that really, really weird console one, is good. Yeah, and I include Tactics in that because I think Tactics was a decent game. Storyline and lore on that was not good. It was barely passable, but the gameplay was really decent. The world was great. It was very, very deep. It had a lot going for it. But no, I don't think Fallout 76 is a game worth downloading for most people. Only for diehard fans who really love the aesthetic, the theme, the style, the look. That's somebody who would enjoy the game.
Maybe if you're not heavily
hound.
Invested in the Fallout world and the Fallout lore, you might enjoy it.
And I pointed out that the biggest problem with Fallout right now, and I really hope to God that this gets fixed. I really, really do. I desperately, desperately want Bethesda to sit down and write a new Fallout lore Bible. Internally, externally, I don't care, something like that. And I really, 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 really want people to start, to get in, lay the groundwork for all future games, because I don't like the lore inconsistencies that have been happening in Fallout 4 and then 76. There's been a lot of lore inconsistencies, a lot of real bad problems, and I'm like, guys, you need to fix this now, please. I can understand updating the lore for better game systems, but there's been a bunch of stuff that's just been garbage, and it's like, guys, deal with this. Oh my God, it's horrendous.
Another super chat from Pauly's here. Thank you so very much. Pauly says 76 is not a good game, but it's better than Marvel's Avengers. I was dumb enough to get both. Trust me, just be smart and avoid both of them.
This is true. This is true.
Pauly's wrote quite a scathing review of Marvel's Avengers.
I think we have a copy of Marvel's Avengers that we're just like, well, we're not using this. What are we gonna do with this?
Well, usually when we get game keys,
I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, it's like, well,
Excuse me.
We usually, when we get game keys that we're not going to use, we usually use them for giveaways or something, but almost feels like that would be an insult to
Yeah,
give that
I'm
away.
pretty sure it would be a very big insult. Oh.
All right. You are listening to the Augmented Reality Podcast, and we love seeing everybody so active in the live chat. If you want to keep the conversation going after the live broadcast, we welcome you to join our Discord community. You can find the link in the description below. It's a place where you can chat with us and other Triple S community members, the Triple S Legion, about all the things we love to talk about, and stay up to date about everything we're doing here at the Triple S League. Click the link below to join. Be sure to say hi to us in the welcome channel. By the way, if you haven't yet, please do slam that like button here on YouTube. We really appreciate that. It likes it rough. You got to slam it or it doesn't count. And it tells YouTube that you appreciate this content. Also, please do subscribe if you do appreciate this content. If you're new or if you are a regular listener and haven't subscribed yet, we are aiming for that 40,000 subscriber mark. We're hoping to hit that soon. Plus, YouTube is, of course, making more changes that we don't understand. And so it may well become very important for you to subscribe in the near future. You may not see videos and content from channels that you're not subscribed to, even in your recommended feed. I don't fully understand what's going on, but I'm hearing rumors, and it's just sounding really stupid. Like, why couldn't you just leave it the way it was? It was working fine. Anyway. All right. So we've talked about Bethesda. We've talked about Starfield. Looking at the state of the industry. So Xbox now has Bethesda in its arsenal, in its competition with PlayStation. And if we look at now, we're not going to spend a long time talking about this, but I understand that the pre-order situation with the consoles was a mess for, especially for PlayStation, but also for Xbox as well. I don't know. You would think these companies would be able to figure that much out at least. They can make this high-tech console, but can't figure out how to have people pre-order it. It's just an embarrassing situation. Now tell me, like, I wasn't really involved in the console, previous console generations. Has this always been the case? Have pre-orders always been a fiasco for these companies pre-ordering their consoles?
No. The thing that has really destroyed, ordering anything right now. The thing that has destroyed ordering anything right now at all boils down to this, to people doing the resellers, the scalpers.
Yeah, the scalpers are a big problem, and they were a big problem also with
they're a massive problem.
Also with the new Nvidia cards, that was an issue too. There were bots that were buying up tons of them, and Nvidia is having to go through and manually undo those.
The worst thing, happened, like you were saying, with Nvidia. And what happened with Nvidia is that they what was it? They English. So they put up their 30 cards for sale, and a bunch of people bought them, and then immediately turned them around and started selling them for like not like $5,000, $3,000, $9,000. One of the sales went and was bought for $70,000. What? Why? Like, and it's shocking how much people will be like, oh yeah, well, this is totally something that I'm willing to blow, every penny I've or maybe that's just some very rich person who's like, yes, I need to get one of these Vidio cards. How much do one of these Vidio cards sell for? Let's see. eBay says $70,000. Oh well, that seems reasonable. I just paid $1.5 million for my Ferrari Lamborghini combination of what's the big truck, the military truck thing that everybody drives?
Hummer?
The military, the Hummer. Yeah, my Lamborghini Ferrari Hummer combination vehicle. It's like yeah, I just spent 1.5 million on that, so I'm sure 70,000 is totally within the realms of normalcy, right? It's like, okay, all right, like maybe that's what happened, but this is ridiculous. And one of the big errors that they had on both of these things is that they didn't have a CAPTCHA for bids, which means
that seems insane to me. I
yeah,
have to put a CAPTCHA
that was a
into...
major overlook by somebody. Somebody should probably be fired or like severely reprimanded for not putting that on, because I do believe that they've had those on before, but for some reason it just wasn't on this one, and that is, I mean, that's just like, wow.
That's insane. Like, I have to put a CAPTCHA in when I'm like trying to get tech support on a website, and this is a site where I type in, I type in my question, and then I get onto the live chat with somebody, and they're like, "What can I help you with today?" I just put it all in there.
Yeah, it's all right there.
I just put it there, and so anyway, yeah, that seems insane that they didn't have some kind of anti-bot measure in place. It's a massive disconnect. Like, these companies are creating next gen technology consoles here. This seems like this should be I don't know. It's quick to rush to judgment. Paulie's 911, another super chat. Wow, thank you. Don't you guys have $70,000? I wish I did. I really do. And maybe we could afford one of those 39s.
We just have that lying around somewhere.
I really wish I did.
Oh yeah.
Need quite a few more super chats for that to happen. All right. So that is that's another aspect of the state of the industry. Pre-orders be a mess. And yeah. I don't know what more there is to say about that. Anyway, let's talk. We touched briefly on Blizzard and how the people that the bunch of employees who have left Blizzard to join Mike Morhaime in forming his Dreamhaven Studios, and so Dreamhaven is the name of the company, and they've got 2 studios underneath them. So he's already formed 2 studios, which is fairly impressive right off the bat. I don't know how he's funding this, if it's with his own money or what, but that start off with 2 studios seems pretty bold. But there's been I saw some discussion in our Discord server this week about, is this really going to work? I mean, we've seen people attempt this kind of thing before. We saw it with Fogbank. That really didn't work. And obviously it's a big risk. There's no guarantee of success. But what do you think? What do you think this new Dreamhaven studio, what do you think they're capable of, and what do you think their chances of succeeding at maybe bringing back that old school Blizzard type feel is, Cyb?
I think, well, it's clearly happening. In that, I think that they have a long-term goal, and I'm really excited to see what games come out from this, because from what I'm seeing and from what I'm hearing from rumors and stuff like that, it's gonna be a while, but it's not gonna be as long as some people think. Somebody was like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be 5 years before we see a game from them." Don't count on that. That's back when they had to like build engines from scratch. You don't have to do that anymore. You also don't have to like design levels or do a bunch of other stuff like you used to have to do to maintain like decent quality. There's a lot of AI tech that can be used to create and to help you create stuff, on the fly. And we've talked about how some of the tech that they're working on is I mean, it's getting close to not quite there, but it's getting really close to that the Star Trek Next Generation holosuite thing. Oh, sorry, hit my microphone. Where like Geordi's like, "Hey, create this, and then add this, and do that, and then boom, done. Program's ready." It's like that. That is something that we are seriously getting close to, with some of the tech that we're closing in on. So, yeah, don't be shocked, because they're working on it.
That's very true.
So,
All right. Well, yes, and I mean all the best. I certainly admire it when these people strike out on their own and want to kind of throw off the chains of corporate oversight and want to be, just get back to creating good games. Unfortunately, there's a big risk involved, and sometimes it doesn't work. Like again, we saw with Fogbank. They put out the pretty decent mobile game, but then, it couldn't go anywhere after that. It just didn't work.
well, I mean, that wasn't their fault. They got shut down by Disney, who was like, so you guys make child-friendly games? Well, no, they're kind of like, they're for like a mature audience. They're for like, 14 plus. Do you say 14 plus? Oh my goodness, everybody clear out your desks, leave. I don't want to see you ever again. You're banned from the premises. Just get out. Just go. Disgusting people making games for 14 plus. What is wrong with you? Yeah, so there's that.
I know. People over 14 don't like princesses, and they might complain if they found out where we were filming in China.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So anything more about sort of the state of Triple B gaming? By the way, if you saw that, if you're wondering what that means on our thumbnail and podcast graphic today, Triple B gaming is our tongue-in-cheek term for AAA studios that have kind of gone the way of that have lost their way, that have lost the plot. Studios like Bethesda, Blizzard, and BioWare, which is where we came up with the term Triple B as opposed to AAA gaming. So that's what that means. And there wasn't really, we've talked about Bethesda and Blizzard. I don't know if there's any news really about BioWare. I don't know if you've been keeping up with anybody there and found out what's going on.
It's not looking great.
No.
It's not looking great. They are working on the next, big title for Dragon Age, and things are not looking great.
Of course, there's more companies than just those three that have lost their way in this industry. Sadly.
Yeah, sadly, it is. I mean, and it is really shameful that it has come down to this. But yeah,
it's true. But that's why we really want to encourage studios that are doing it right. Like, for example, in our opinion, CD Projekt Red's getting it right, and we're hoping that this Microsoft acquisition of Bethesda turns things around there. Hoping. No guarantees. There are never any guarantees, and it might go good for a while and then turn bad. Like, that just seems to be what happens in this industry. Yeah. Lady Reaver says, "What about the price increase on games?" Well, actually, that's a good topic that I don't think we've touched on yet, but that's true. PlayStation is increasing the base title of its or the base price of its games, isn't it? And is this going to spread?
I don't think so. Microsoft is really doubling down on the concept of not even making you pay for games. They're really not.
Yeah, that's true. They seem to be wanting to push people more and more into their Xbox
subscription
Game Pass
model, yeah.
And so you pay a monthly cost, and you get as many games. Like you have access to this huge library. So yeah, but so if I'm not mistaken, and it's really interesting too, interesting in a not so good way. PlayStation is raising the base cost of games to $70 US as opposed to what it's typically been as $60. Mm-hmm. But that's the US cost. Now it's been disproportionate in other parts of the world. I heard it was going up to like 80 euros.
Yeah,
which is way more than 70 US.
Yeah. And this is where I think this is where Microsoft is really going to hammer down on Sony. One of the many places that they're going to hammer down on this, because what they've essentially said and what they're essentially alluding to is that, hey, yeah, guys, we know that you've got a limited budget. we're going to give you all of your games for your essentially limited budget. And if there's collectors out there who want to collect and do their own thing, then they're going to be able to do that. And there's going to be like lots of stuff for it. But if you just want to play all the, all of the best games, the newest games, and they're all on the Microsoft, bundled under the one Microsoft thing, then that's it. You have access to everything. And why would you
right.
pay any more?
Let's say you can. Let's say you're a person who has a budget for, you can buy about three AAA games per year. So we're looking at about $180 a year that you spend on games. That's a game every 4 months. You can do that, or of course, if you're talking about the Sony price, then it's even more than that. Or you can pay about, what does Game Pass cost now? I know it's, if you're getting the console with it, it's a little higher than this, but isn't it somewhere around $15 a month?
I think so.
So
it's always weird because we're not in
so
world.
These numbers aren't exact, but if you have, so that works out to $15 a month though. If you're buying three AAA games per year, that works out to about $15 per month. You put that toward a Game Pass subscription, you're getting way more than just those 3 games. That's huge. That's huge. Now, you're not owning them, and it's a subscription service. You stop paying that subscription, it goes away. There's a bunch of things to consider there. But do we ever really own anything anyway? I mean, that's a whole other discussion. But yeah, just looking at it in terms of value, that's a lot to compete with. I've been, I don't have Game Pass, but I've been seriously looking at it. I've been seriously thinking, I wonder if that would make more sense than buying all my games on Steam. Most games on Steam that I buy, even great, there's some that, I want to have in my library so I can play them again. Example, Witcher 3, right? Or I'm sure, Cyberpunk or whatever. I'm going to want those to stay in my library. But there's a lot of games where I play once and it's fun and it's a good experience, but then I'm never going to open them again. So yeah, especially for games like that, it starts to look like a really good value. So again, not trying to be an apologist for Xbox there, but definitely, I can see where, the angle they're trying to compete with makes a lot of sense. Whereas Sony, of course, is their competitive edge is still those exclusives, which definitely is an edge, for sure. They have some great looking stuff. The new Ratchet and Clank looks amazing. I would love to play that. And so, hopefully it's no longer a PlayStation. So I'm not getting a PlayStation just for that one. Paulie's another super chat. Wow, thank you so much. Ubisoft already overcharged people for their games. Base game of theirs with locked DLC costs as much as some deluxe games cost. I think Ubisoft doesn't like Xbox Game Pass. Agreed. I think a lot of companies like that aren't going to like Xbox Game Pass. Of course, they can choose whether or not they're going to participate in that. All right. We're an hour in here. I think we should probably move on to the Cyberpunk stuff. There's not a ton to talk about for Cyberpunk, but there's been a bit of buzz because senior quest designer Patrick Mills came and addressed the story's length, and he said basically that you can expect the main quest of Cyberpunk 2077, the main story, to be slightly shorter, exact words, slightly shorter than The Witcher 3. So, of course, there's been a wide variety of takes on this. Forbes says Cyberpunk 2077 looks to improve on one of The Witcher 3's biggest problems. So, the reason apparently they did this was that they looked at sort of the metrics of it and saw that a lot of people weren't actually finishing to the end of the Witcher 3 storyline. And it's very long. Like, it is very long. And they thought, well, we want people to see the end of our story, so we're going to make it a little shorter. But then you're getting amazing takes like Yahoo Sports Canada. I don't even know why they're writing about this, but their headline is, if you wanted Cyberpunk 2077 to be a long game, you might be disappointed. This is just garbage. And, you know, they have a little video on this page that goes through, like, it just, it's a bunch of nonsensical drivel about how, the game is going to be short and fans feel betrayed. It's garbage. It's garbage. So anyway, you see headlines like that, don't give them too much credence. Now, it is true that they said, you know, the main storyline is going to be shorter than The Witcher 3's. But that doesn't speak to the entire amount of content that you're going to be getting in this game. We know it's going to be bigger than The Witcher 3 overall. It's got more dialogue lines. It's just a bigger game. There's going to be massive amounts of side quests that interweave with the main quest. And they've even said you can finish the game without completing the main quest line. That's how important the side quests are. That's how much impact the side quests have on the gameplay. You know, you do side quests that actually influence how the main story goes. So no, this is not going to be a small game. This is not going to be a small game. You read headlines saying that. You can go back to the original quote. I'll actually read exactly what Patrick Mills said here. He said, looking at the metrics, you see tremendous numbers of people played through the game really far but never made it to the end. He's speaking about The Witcher 3 here. We want you to see the whole story. And then there's another part of his quote where he basically just says, we do know that the main story run in Cyberpunk 2077 is slightly shorter than The Witcher 3 because we got a lot of complaints about The Witcher 3's main story just being too long. Mm-hmm. The key words there, the main story. That's not the entire content. And I feel like... I think you're absolutely right here, and I want to press upon this. This means that they're basically putting more of the story into side quests that are optional. There's lots of content in video games when you're making an RPG that most people aren't interested in doing. You know, I can remember... I mean, you look at like World of Warcraft, other MMOs, those are all really good examples. It's like, hey, please help me. My dog is lost. Can you find my dog? I really miss him. It's like if you're role playing a badass or an evil type character or, you know, something like that, and you come across this quest, you're like, no. Like, why would I, you know, you're probably going to kill the guy. And when the game designers force you to do that quest and don't give you a choice because there's a really good belt, you know, as a reward for it, or there's a bunch of other stuff, or somebody who's just wanting to go into an area and you know, not be forced to complete every single like main objective quest on the map, because they just feel like there's too much there. This is actually a good thing, because what we know is that they have had a huge increase in the smaller side quest content, and how a lot of that stuff is far more impactful and meaningful. So this is actually a good thing, because instead of now being forced, I remember I think it was Rift. Rift came out, was an MMO a long time ago, and they touted like 35,000 or 3,500 quests. And I was like, the hell is wrong with you? I don't want to do 3,500 quests. And like each of them had like a page and a half of dialogue, which was generally poorly written and didn't actually have a lot of weight to them. And then contrastly, you have the MMO from BioWare, the Star Wars one, where they came out and there was an enormous number of side quests, way more than they should have had. But
because the quests were all like really long. Like it's like, hey, go kill 20 of these, which you're like, okay, 20. I need 20 pieces from this kind of enemy. That's great. Oh, look, there's a big pack of 10 of them there, and a big pack of 10 of them there. Me and my buddies will get all 20 of them together. We'll AoE them down, and boom, down. All right, how many pieces did we get? We got one. Oh, wait, one each, or one for every single one of us? Just one total. Oh, one total. Okay, well, it looks like we're going to be grinding here for 3 hours. And that kind of a garbage quest system. But what BioWare failed to do is when they revamped their leveling process, they didn't keep those story quests with the interesting dialogue and background. They didn't keep those around and just make them easier to do. Instead they just cut them. And so now you have this now, because I was playing through Star Wars a couple months ago, just popped in and tried to like give it a go, see what it was like. The world felt empty because you had these big giant areas and you had 3 quests, and you did those 3 quests and you leveled up, like, and you didn't need to come back to the zone. It's like, what? Wow, all that work, all that quest, all that story, instead of just making it something that is more of a cinematic experience, they just trashed it all. And it's like, those are 2 extremes of a problem that we have in RPGs that thankfully CDPR did not go down. They didn't say, hey, you know what? People really hate that the game takes like 60 hours to like fully complete. Well, let's make it so that you can finish the game in 20 hours and you've got 40 hours of additional content that you can choose whether or not to spend time doing that stuff. Because again, and I bring this up again, I have only ever finished Skyrim once. I have only ever defeated Alduin, or whatever his name is, once. I have never felt a need to go back and do that again, because my main interest was all the side content and all the random like stuff that happens when I make a low level character. That's far more interesting to me than and this is a problem that most RPGs have. This is a big problem of power creep and all this other stuff where it's like you are so strong that you are equivalent to a god. It's like, this is not interesting gameplay to me. This is really, really boring. Can you please give me something that is actually interesting and is actually in-depthly different than what I'm used to going through? Oh, look, I'm the chosen one again. Good Lord, I've been the chosen one how many times now? It's like the what is it, Butters, or was it Butters, or one of, I think it was Butters. And they're like, oh, you're the chosen one. Oh man, Morpheus, I don't want to be the chosen one. Can I not be the chosen one this time? But you are the chosen one. I really don't want to be the chosen one. I just want to do stuff. I want to do interesting stuff that's interesting to me, not, oh, you must solve the world hunger. Like, oh, why do I have to do this? Like, but then you feel bad because you're saying, oh, I don't want to solve world hunger. And it's like, oh, well, now you're a dick.
Well, it does feel a little like when it's like, okay, you're the only one who can do a specific thing. Okay, that kind of makes it. But all of a sudden, when it's you're the chosen one for like all of the world's problems, that suddenly becomes like, what the heck? It's like, I'm trying to remember the game I was playing where it's like you become the leader. Was it Fallout, or maybe in Skyrim too, where you can become like the head of 7 different factions, and it's like,
yeah, that's the stereotypical Elder Scrolls stuff. And I mean, some people like that, but that's where they do it good. You have that as optional content. You don't have to become the leader of the Mages Guild and the Brotherhood at the same time. You can just choose one of those if you want. Like, the options are open to you, and that's, please, like, keep those options coming.
Options are good, but at the same time,
don't force us to like do like 20 hours of story content that is arguably not necessarily connected to the main story, to the main quest line, and I like that. I do like, games like Jagged Alliance and games like Skyrim where you can spend years in the game, in game time. You can spend, well, not years. You can spend, 4 weeks of game time doing stuff other than the main quest and feeling like it's not exactly, boring you. That was one of my favorite things to do in Jagged Alliance, was to just like get my one merc, max out every single stat. There was a way that you can max out like wisdom and intelligence and a couple of these other stats. It was really, really difficult to do. But if you maxed it out in the early, like in the first day of the in-game world, then you could you essentially become this then you do become the chosen one, essentially, because you're just nigh unstoppable, but you're also you're having fun in doing that. It's not required that you do that. Give us the options and let the player play the experience that they like to play the most, and I think that's a good thing. I saw a video the other day. This woman's like, I think I married a psychopath. She comes down and there's a dude playing VR, and he's like, in VR, he's holding a head and he's bashing a head against the wall. He like decapitated a guy, and then he's got his head and he's in the wall and he's bashing the head against the wall over and over and over again. She comes down, she records like 10 seconds of this and just turns around and walks away. It's like, what the hell are you doing? It's like the guy who, another one, again, I don't know if this actually existed or not, but like he's got this kid sister, and kid sister, she goes around stalking players for hours or NPCs for hours and hours in Skyrim, and then kills them, assassinates them, and then collects like a piece of like just a single piece of something from their body, like shoes or a dress or something. It's like, is my sister a psychopath? Like, what in the world? Why? Oh my goodness. And it's like, yeah, give us the choice, for crying out loud,
It's called emergent gameplay. It's one of the best. It's one of the best things when a game is complex enough that you can make your own game out of it in that way. I love that. I love that kind of stuff. I've been thinking about doing a series of videos, exploring those kinds of things, just because it's just a fascinating aspect of gameplay. Mm-hmm. If you are looking at the screen on YouTube right now, we've got some new Cyberpunk 2077 screenshots that I've been cycling through. I paused on this one because we see...
It's really beautiful. It's a really beautiful zone.
It is, and they released a series of screenshots on Twitter that showcase this looping tram system of some kind, and it looks super dope, not gonna lie. Yeah, just looks amazing. Also have, earlier there was some pretty amazing city shots. Like, they've just been releasing all of these shots of the skyline. There's some kind of apartment complex or housing area with like a firefight going on in the parking lot, as is prone to happen every day in Night City. This looks amazing. This, I don't even know what we're looking at. Some kind of highway junction or something. Actually, I'm looking at these very small on my own screen. I'm gonna make it bigger here. Some kind of interchange that just, wow. I wonder if that's Corporate Plaza. Just with the circular structure of it there. I'm not 100% sure. But this, the more of these I see, I'm just blown away by.
See, now, and I look at that and I think, what would be the most fascinating emergent gameplay from this?
What's that?
Is if I can strip my character down and play naked Frogger on the highway. I know I'm not the only one who's thought of this immediately. Yes, I could finally play naked Frogger on a highway. Yeah. This is brilliant. This is absolutely brilliant. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll end off with a shot of Pacifica here. with some acid rain, looks like burning the city to the ground. So, there we go. Yeah. All right. Is there anything else you wanted to... Yago says, I've got my work cut out for me in the game. Yeah. All right, so anything else you wanted to say, or are we ready to call it a show?
I think we're good.
All right, then. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you for the great conversation in the live chat. If you want to keep the conversation going after this live broadcast, go head over to the Discord server. There's often a lot of people that gather in one of the voice rooms after the fact. Cyb and Moontag might be there. And, yeah, it's just a great time. We do everything we possibly can to keep it as positive a place as possible, as fun a place as possible. So definitely head over and check it out. Don't forget to slam that like button if you haven't yet. And leave comments below if you're watching after the fact. I want to extend a special thank you to our Patreon supporters and our channel members who helped to make this content possible. Our big damn heroes on Patreon: Robin, Shua82, Timebean, Schoolaman, Lady Reaver, Dracodan, and our 2 anonymous supporters at that level. Our channel members on YouTube: Mr. Pazdernick, Jer Schultz, Game Notes, Night City Punk, Terror K, Somnolence, and Dracodan again. Thank you all so very much. If you're listening after the fact to one of the audio-only platforms, remember that this show goes live Wednesdays and Saturdays on the Triple S League YouTube channel, where you can interact with us and get the latest info sooner. So head over to the Triple S League YouTube channel and subscribe there to know anytime we're going live or releasing videos. The Augmented Reality Podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Ash, and on behalf of Cyb and Moontag, who sadly we didn't hear her voice much because of audio problems, but thank you all so much for listening. We'll talk to you again very soon.